Over my channel's entire existence, I've made quite a few videos on the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance line of consoles and games. And I want to talk about why you need a Game Boy Advance SP in 2023. Well, for those that don't know, the Game Boy Advance SP is actually one of the cheaper models of the Game Boy to actually be able to collect for when it comes to obviously the actual systems. As you can see, I have two systems right in front of me. And to get both of these, it cost me probably about £100 together for both, which is actually quite a good deal compared to a lot of other systems. With some stores selling Game Boy Colors and other Game Boy Advance units for about 70 quid, it's 70, 80, 90 quid. I feel like these were quite a good deal. Now, the games you can get on these systems is a massive library. The Game Boy Advance, despite only being on the market for a few years compared to the Game Boy, has quite a strong library, including games such as this: F-Zero, what's it? Oh, I can't read writing. Maximum Velocity Area. Sorry, guys, I wear glasses. I have bad eyesight, so I can barely read. But yeah, and then obviously it can play all the Game Boy and Game Boy Color games as well, which is something that I don't think the DS can do. From what I understand, the DS is not able to do that. From what I understand. Plus, it has tons of movie licenses that will turn into games as well, like games like Shrek, Lilo and Stitch. There were quite a few films that came out during the 2000s that had games made for the Game Boy Advance. Likewise, it's got a rechargeable battery, which is a very, very important thing nowadays, and you can actually change the battery. So if say, I don't know, the battery in this system died, just pop out a screw, get a new battery, and I can make a new battery, replace it. Likewise as well, the Game Boy Advance SP line is foldable, it's more portable, you can easily fit this in your pocket when it's folded up. You haven't got to worry about obviously it getting scratched up, because you can just cover the case, fold it up, make it nice and safe so it doesn't get cracked. Now, is there a drawback to getting Game Boy Advance? Yeah, there is a drawback. Some games like Pokemon are very expensive to get, but that's what you also need to worry about, is obviously long term, what games are you trying to collect for. I would say I do recommend buying a Game Boy Advance over using Switch Online if you want to play Game Boy games, because the Switch Online lineup of Game Boy games is still very pitiful, very small, and there's not really much there when it comes to Game Boy or Game Boy Advance games on Switch Online. I think there's only like 20 of each, which to me, after 6 months, is very disappointing, and Nintendo needs to do a lot better. Nintendo is a huge company with a huge library of games, huge teams that they could easily bring these games over from, but they seem to be like drip feeding the games like one or two a month now, which is very disrespectful to me, in my opinion. And I kind of feel like Nintendo should do better, but I digress. And not gonna lie, Nintendo also made so many different versions of these Game Boy Advance lines, Game Boy Advance SP. So obviously you can get this one, you get the pink one, you've got blue versions. There's tons of different colors of the Game Boy Advance. You've got a standard silver one, which is probably the cheapest one you can get. There's tons of different colors and as whatnot for it. There's tons of great games, and it's relatively cheap. So to me, I recommend buying a Game Boy Advance. And obviously, if you do buy a Game Boy Advance, show it off. Make some videos. Show like, hey, I got this game console. And the Game Boy Advance is a very popular system. There's tons of them that was sold. So prices from should remain fairly consistent, because for those who don't know, when a console has so many units, yeah, after they get discontinued, there's limited supply. But when it's like 80 million consoles, it's kind of hard to warrant charging 200, 300, 400 quid per console when a system's been on the market, hasn't been on the market in years, and people are buying. But yeah, I digress. This isn't an Atari Jaguar when it only sells 125,000 consoles. I digress. Anyways, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments down below. Are you going to buy a Game Boy Advance? Do you already own a Game Boy Do And why? And which one do you own? Do you own the standard one where you have to change the batteries, or do you own a Game Boy Advance SP like I do? I own two of them because I am posh. I am the greatest person to ever live when it comes to video game collecting, and I totally didn't just buy a pink one to flex on my girlfriend at the time, who also wanted a pink one. Yeah, we broke up like 4 months ago, so it's weird. But yeah, guys, I don't know why I brought it up, but yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. Anyway, I've been EC, and I'm signing out. Peace.